What is a clipping mask and how do we use it in Adobe Illustrator? A clipping mask is basically something that's going to crop a shape to another shape. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be cropping this image to the text, and we can see the finished effect over here. If you're coming from Photoshop, clipping masks in Adobe Illustrator look very different, so I can understand if it's a bit confusing. For me, it took a little while to wrap my head around. For those of you who are just interested in learning about how to do clipping masks, I'll show you that very quickly right now, the absolute basics. So we want to take this text and this image. You want to have the object that's going to be cropping the image above all of the other objects. And we'll just select both of those and then go Command 7 or Control 7 if you are on Windows. You can also go Object, find Clipping Mask, and then select Make. We're just going to release that, which is Command Option 7 or Control Alt 7 if you're on Windows. I'm just going to send that image to the back, but that's the absolute basics of clipping masks. If you've just got one object that you're cropping and one object that is being cropped, just select them both, Command 7, and you're off and away. But let's make something a little bit more complicated. We have the text here, and then we also have this heart image here. So we want both of these to form our clipping mask. By instinct, you might think, oh, I'll just group them. But let's see what happens when we do that. So I'll select both the heart and the text, and I'll group them using the shortcut Command G. And then we'll select both of these and go Command 7. But nothing is happening. Like that's just, there's no image there. So this is really deceptive behavior because Adobe Illustrator is not going to throw an error, but it is also not going to work. So let's just undo all of that. What we want to do is make it a compound path. So first I'm going to turn my text from editable text into a vector. To do this, we're going to use the shortcut Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O if you're on Windows. You can also go Type and then find Create Outlines. And what this does is it takes it from editable text into a vector graphic. Then I'm going to hold Shift and select my heart. And we're going to make these into a compound path. Now, a compound path is like a very deep, complex group in basic terms. If you're ever taking something like an SVG from Adobe Illustrator and putting it into another vector editing software, things like groups might not necessarily be respected, but a compound path usually will be. So what we're going to do is go Object, find Compound Path, and then Make. You can use the shortcut Command 8. So it's very similar to a clipping mask, but it's Command 8 instead of Command 7. So now this is our compound path. We'll select both of these, and then we'll go Command 7. So there we go, we have clipped our image into quite a complex shape. So what if we want to move it around? We don't want to have to undo the clipping mask and then move it around and redo it. So how do we edit it? You're going to want to double click on your image, and then you're going to see these breadcrumbs up here that tell us how deep we are. So right now we're just in the clip group, and we can move our image around if we want to. Sorry, that's our text. We can move our image around if we want to, if we actually select the image. And you can see over there that we're coming up against the bounding box of the image, the edge over there. So that L is not filled. So if we want to see what we're doing a bit better or a bit worse, depending on your perspective, we can double click again. And now we can see our image properly, but we can't see our text. So if you want to actually see your text, you can use outline mode, so that is Command Y or Control Y if you're on Windows. So now we can see our text, and this is the bounding box of our image. Just Command Y again. So this isn't as helpful for positioning things as being in the clip group is, but it can also be helpful for just seeing where the detail is that you can't see outside of the clip group. And then if we don't want to have this clipping mask, we can always release it by going Command Option 7. Now your text and that shape is not going to have any appearance, it's not going to have a fill, so you might have to add that back in. easy way to do that is just hit D on your keyboard, and that fills it with the default fill and stroke with the default stroke weight. So that's how we use clipping masks in Adobe Illustrator. Now if you liked that video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.